Well, hello, CoinOPS fans. This is Pixel Freak from the CoinOPS Project Discord. I'm sure you're tired of smashing your F5 button at this point, but as we walk down memory lane with Retro Robot here, I wanted to show you that Collections is now dropping with the first two versions. They are not the full version. The first two versions are going to be Arcades and Legends. And I'm going to explain and give you a quick preview of the two. Of course, always join the Discord. Look at the README docs. All will be explained, and your patience is required. Do your searches, read the FAQ, and play nice on the Discord server. And it's a great community to be part of. So, with that in mind, everybody keep in mind that I'm not a developer. I'm simply reviewing and explaining some of the features that I've found in these CoinOps builds, which are fantastic. Let's see here. Retro Robot is going to disappear down that way. And looking at, this is the arcade version. Here you go. 31. I started it with manufacturers. 31 different collections and genres. They are all listed out. Look at that. Lower arc. It has fast, responsive menu systems. Collections are the multi-tiered menus with also the GUI settings available, which differ from the Players series, which are now the two main lines from CoinOps. The Player series, which these are not, the Player series are a single flat tier. They're not multi-tier menus, and the settings are specifically hidden away from the GUI, away from small hands and visitors. Player builds concentrate just on the player experience. Come over, play a game, fire it up. It's easy to understand. Get in, get out. Nobody can mess it up. Collections, a little more advanced. Usually people that have the collections builds have more multi-systems and larger collections to manage. Therefore, it's a multi-tiered system, and also the GUI settings to be able to be changed are included. Of course, a bat file will allow you to turn those off, but here they are. In fact, I'm going to turn off Retro Robot so it doesn't keep going every time I start this for you guys. There are 7 settings. There is explained in the helper. I'm going to go through these a little bit. Also, as BP likes to do, there's that annoying sad music that always plays. It doesn't want you just hanging around in settings. That is different than the music toggle. If you turn music on, that will make some music play while you're navigating. That is different. That can be turned on and off, whereas the settings music cannot. Don't hang out in there. Play games. Come on. So if you look in the bottom left, you have the hearts. Those, we are not in the favorites playlist. I spent some considerable amount of time in the documents explaining the difference between favoriting a game on and off, favoriting a collection or genre on or off, and then actually getting into the favorites playlist, where then that took effect and you're selecting only from what you toggled on. Notice here there are 31. If you look at the bottom right, of course, there's always your existing count of when you're in a menu. There are 31 options to include settings, so really 30 genres and collections in the manufacturer's EXA. Notice the heart in the bottom left is not filled in. It is not pulsating. I am therefore not in the favorites playlist. I am in the all playlist. That means that I can select toggle on and off using the start button. These ones are all toggled on by default. If you keep going, look, some are not. These ones are not. I can add trackballs to my favorites. There you go, start. See that? It kind of jumped in and out. It added, and also the heart toggled. I'll turn it back off. That is now no longer included. Now, why is that important? Because all themes except wall, which I will explain further later because it is handled differently, but the other 3 themes all have the same setup where if you hit up or down, it will knock you into the favorites playlist. Notice that the heart starts pulsating to inform you, to remind you that you're in the favorites playlist. Now, if you hit start on anything, it can't toggle it on or off because it's already in here. The only thing it will do is kick it out of favorites, which I don't think you want to do. Manage your favorites while you're in the all playlist. It's just easier to understand. Now, if you look at that, see that? I only have 10 options because those 10 were the ones that were favorited. Up and down gets me in and out, or the Y button gets me in and out, okay? This is the upper level collection genre tier. I'm going to get out of favorites. I'm going to go back to arcade to the all overall. I'm going to enter it by hitting a button. It is not auto enter like the wall theme. Again, I will discuss that later. The standard theme, if you look, it's this beautiful cabinet and wheel theme. It's probably the most classic and most recognizable of the CoinOps builds. All that beautiful artwork by GJSM Smith, as well as other contributors. The high definition video snaps in there. And then you've got the logos, which a lot have been redone, resized, and touched up, as well as the marquee project that everybody has been contributing. Thank you to all the members there that have added to the beautiful marquee work that is also used in one of the 4 themes here, which is marquee theme. One of the things to notice, there are 2 cabinet and wheel themes. There's cabinet wheel and there's cabinet wheel fast. The differences are the cabinet and the videos are the same, the logos are the same. The covers in the background that you see shifting between each change, If I scroll, they change. They horizontally slide with each game change. That is not as fast, especially on slower computers. So therefore, there is a fast version which will stop the cover. It will freeze the cover until the selection is done, and then it will change to the last cover. So it's not transitioning, doing that horizontal slide each time. It increases speed. I personally like it a little bit. I love these covers. They're amazing fan art, but I do like being able to just kind of scroll through. And then when I'm done, it immediately catches up and shows the last cover. So that's the difference between those two. Left and right will get you in and out of this lower game menu back to the collections genres menu. Up and down, of course, is going to change your games. Pressing the A button will bring you into the game. All right. So left and right, up and down, in and out of favorites, and Y will do the same. Also in arcade, while I was in the game menu, I forgot to show you, if I have a bunch favorited in here and I hit Y, look at that. This is the games favorites playlist. All of the ones within arcades that I've selected, notice there are 78 pre-selected. Now those are the only ones offered. I can tell I'm in the favorites playlist, not the all games playlist, because down, again, in the bottom left, heart is pulsating. And if I hit Y, it toggles me out. All right, so that's basically how to get around. Everybody's pretty familiar with how to get around in here. But if you look, I'm going to duck out here. Actually, I'm going to let it play in the background. I'm going to knock out here because I want to show you some of the documents that I have made for this. Now, if you look, there is a Legends and an arcade version. All right. This is the arcade version. This is the Legends version. The Legends version has a quick breakdown and explanation as to why there are different versions of the builds. The collections and players are the builds. Arcade and Legends are the versions, because there's going to be an overall CoinOPS collections larger non-Legends, non-arcade. It's going to cover the whole gambit, all systems, all game packs, etc. It's still to be determined. It's not ready to come out yet. Legends and arcades were. They're being released to the public. So that's why I'm covering these. The Legends one, if you want to have a read, it explains the difference in the naming convention, what's going on. If you notice, the summary on Legends is not broken out like I like to do with a large grouping, because there aren't that much. In Legends, because it is highly tailored, it pays respect to the true titans of the coin-op era and also the 16-bit console era, which is a nice little addition. There are 327 coin-op operated arcade Legends represented in the Legends build. It is MAME only. 17 Sega and 29 SNES console games are included. They do not show in the arcades list because, hey, let's show proper respect. They are distinguished between all of the fantasy cabs, of course, that GJSM Smith made represent the SNES and Genesis games in those playlists. They're just, they're beautiful. And as far as the four themes, they are the same four themes in both. The Legends build, it's quite portable, actually. It's quite nice. 13 gigs. It can fit on a fast USB stick if you wanted to run it that way. It's incredibly portable, and that would work. 327 games, and an explanation of the naming convention there. All right. It's also excellent for cabinets because you don't have a bunch of games that require analog controls or extra buttons. With that, though, arcade, it is more broad. It is not as broad as the large full collections that will come out later. This one has 1,237 games. It's about 70 gigs on your disk. Again, same four themes. This breakdown is usually helpful to folks who just want to open it up and see what's inside the builds instead of posting that question constantly on the Discord server. And that's why I do these summaries. So you know that you've got 1,208 games. Sega Model 3, there are 17 games. If you notice here, I noted that the Daytona USA is actually the PC version, but it's under Sega Model because they're overlapping and it fit best in here. So there are 17 games because it's a smaller collection. I was able to list all the names. Dolphin Triforce is used because it's Mario Kart Arcade GP 1 and 2. There is one console game in here if you're going to be a purist. Afterburner Climax is a favorite of the developers, BP especially. It's represented as an arcade game. So that's in there. That's the only console. But again, it's presented as an arcade stand-up coin-operated game. Daphne, 7 games. There are 7 of them in there. Okay, look at that. Yay. And they also have the bezels. They have Daphne is now using reshade to show the bezels. That's also why it's important. They do not resize. You need to be using it at 1080p video to have trouble-free operation. PC games, Outrun 2006 is the PC version. Daytona USA, again, is the PC version, but it's represented as a Sega Model 3 game. And Ultra Street Fighter 4. That one's going to give some people problems that have D input controls because that one does run X input only. Don't use Joy to key. It will mess things up as far as if you're going to try and tailor it to map. Go to the Discord server if you're having issues and you're going to have to work out some type of way to make Ultra Street Fighter 4 work. I want to give you some notes here. Collections Arcade does not have consoles, PC Gamer, or the other executables that you've seen in recent games like Street Fighters and let's see, Capcom Fighters. These builds have only run collections or run collections with the additional manufacturer collection genres included to make it larger, which I'll show you on the next page. Also, malware is not included in here, but my computer while testing was throwing a little bit of a fit because some of the bats or DLLs that were included with some of the games were triggering. I wasn't always getting alerts. Games would stop launching, specifically Ultra Street Fighter 4 and Daytona, the PC versions. It quietly quarantined those. Beware. Make your exclusions. If a game doesn't run, check your quarantine first. It may not have alerted you that it just stole your Steam API DLL or something else, all right? So those are the notes down there. Explanation, run it at 1080p. Don't need to go into that any further. Hey, everybody, when you have it, the first time you run CoinOps, you need, if you want glass effects, to run DirectX 9. I don't care that your computer in Windows 11 has DirectX 12 installed by default. You need the DX9 dependencies to be run the first time so that you get the full glass effects. I'm just a messenger. Also, the C++ redistributables, run them the first time. The install all bat in the fixes when not working folder. Just run it once. Run the bat, hit yes 12 times. They're all installed. You're good to go from that point on. It explains the controls here. All right. Oh, you can hear auto scroll turned on in the back. All right. Anyway, here's the root folder for both. Remember, on the left is the Legends build. On the right is the Arcades build. Legends, these are the genres and collections that will show, and these are when you add the with manufacturers. In each root, you will see that there are these two executables, Legends and with manufacturers. If you run the bottom one, you just get these, all 327 arcade games. And look down here, Genesis and Super Nintendo, the 17 and 29, are held separately in these playlists. They are not included in these on purpose. Settings, of course, have 7. If you run with manufacturers, it does all of these and then includes these. These are the game counts included in each. Now, folks need to understand that running these different executables does not change the total number of games allowed. All of them are always shown. It just shows how they're grouped apart. So if you run collections, arcades, or with manufacturers, you're always going to have all 1,237 games. It's just how many genres will show up, and then these are the game counts within those genres that have been pre-sorted and selected for you. That's the only difference. Moving on, in the root of both, of course, you have the restore bats. Everybody knows what those are if you've had any CoinOps experience. If not, read here. Restore defaults will get you back to the base installation. When I say installation, there's nothing to install. It just resets everything. Restore Xbox controllers. It covers all controllers. It's titled that way because Xbox controllers were the default configuration imagined when all the games were mapped. So therefore, if you just restore your controller settings, which sometimes people need to do because they've messed something up, just run this one. If you run the defaults overall, it includes the controller's bat as well. But this is how to run just the controller's bat. Warning, if you are individually mapping machines, or in other words, going into a game and only saving that game, restoring the controllers will not change specific game mappings that you've made. That's a different function. Of course, the builds always have the helpers JPEG. Read it. There are a few changes. These 7 gears are in the GUI menu. They're all explained here in each one. I won't go into them. I want to point out, however, folks, that you need to know that in glass toggle, there's glass effects on, there's glass effects on, and there's glass effects off. The 2 glass effects on, you have to have a sharp eye. The first one, default, is what we've come to know as the scratched glass, okay? It's just got kind of a haze over it. It looks like an old CRT monitor that's had some love. Now, the second one, which says glass on, you'll notice that the poster itself changes to a slightly different shape, and I'll try and show it to you, but that is the reflective mode. It won't just be an overall haze, it will be reflective mode. If you have a reflective mode, there are 3 bats that you can do further tweaking in reflective that are all explained here. Look in here. You can have it do the blur where it shows the arcade glowing behind the person, which is the default if you're in reflective. It will only work while you're in reflective. You can change it to the first person that has basically approximately kind of a first person 12-year-old arcade player. And then there is the third one that is a little more clear. You can actually see the games behind you that are reflected with a little more clarity. So it's like a sharpened blur, if you will. But again, they only work when glass is in reflective mode. Glass effect on is the scuffed one, or you can just completely turn them off if you want. I wanted to make sure because it's not a visual menu option, but I think it's a pretty cool treat if you know where to find it, if you actually want to change those reflections. Also, there is a little bit in here about some of the button changes. Everybody's used to how CoinOPS generally handles buttons and menus. Here's a refresher because there have been a few slight changes. All right. It also explains a little bit about buttons 9 and 10, which most people do not have on arcade controls. All right. Now, the difference between favorite genre or playlist I covered, I showed you. It's also written down, and all of the explanations are in here. Get to know the difference between just favorite in games and all games, and then what a favorites playlist does. The themes, it explains them. There are 4 for each. They're the same 4. I do want to spend a little bit of time to show you why the wall theme acts differently. It is a favorite. It is included, but it has auto enter enabled, and therefore the favorite system works a little bit differently. The favorite system will not allow you to change genres and collections. I'm sorry, not change, add or remove genres or collections on that menu level in the wall theme, and I'll show you why. Otherwise, the other 3 do, as I showed you previously in the video. Advanced configs, I then take some time to go through and explain all the bats. Okay, they're all in here. If you have a question on what they do, just look in here. I've done my best to explain. They are fairly self-explanatory. Otherwise, they're all in here. Finally, though, I want folks to take a look. I included snapshots of the different bezel functions in here. If you notice, there are slightly different options. In Legends, this is your default bezel style. It is the legendary bezel with the instruction tabs. It is bright all the way out. There's no darkened vignette. This is the legendary version default. If you do realistic bezel on, it switches to more of a cabinet view. You have the cabinet walls, the arcade wall. You have a little bit of darkened 3D drop shadow, but it stays with the legendary bezels in there. Of course, they're going to be a little bit smaller because they have to fit in the cabinet artwork as well. Finally, Bezel Artistic is not one that is available in the GUI, but if you go into the BAT, notice here it's only available in the BATS directory, you can turn on Bezel Artistic. It goes away from the legendary bezels, it goes away from the cabinet art wall, and it gives a vignette, a darkened vignette around the edge. But these are the artistic ones. Okay, that one is not available in the GUI. You have to only find it by BAT, but these ones are available by both BAT and GUI. All right, so with that though, looking at the arcades version, there are 4. There's realistic bezel, disable, clear, realistic bezel. Okay, that's why I have pictures. Those will make sense after you know what they're referring to. But you look at that, that seems a little hard to understand. The only 2 that are available in the GUI are realistic bezel, disable, light. That is real bezel off in settings collection, okay? This is one. It looks like this. Darken vignette around. It is the artistic or realistic version of the bezels here, okay? No cabinet wall, no arcade wall. So it's the realistic type bezel on the background. Okay, slight darkened vignette in the corners, does not feature any cabinet sides or arcade walls. This is the other one that you can do through the GUI, realistic bezel enable. Real bezel on, see? In the settings collection. Look, you get the arcade wall, the cabinet wall, the drop shadow, and it's using the old school legendary where available, otherwise realistic. Okay? Now, these 2 are not available in the GUI. They're only available, 1, in arcades. They're not available in Legends. And these are also only available by BAT. It's all explained here. Only in the BATs. Realistic bezel, disabled dark cabinet. Notice the cabinet wall is slightly different. Okay? It's also darkened. It's also using the realistic bezel in the background, but it's a darkened arcade feel. And look, even the arcade wall has slightly bigger bricks. In other words, this is a different setup on purpose. Darkened arcade dweller is what I like to call it. Okay, notice the angular cabinet wall and larger bricks. Also, horizontal games have cabinet walls and brick effects as well. That's different than when you use realistic bezel enable, this one that I covered up here, the second one on the GUI. When you do vert games, they look like this. When you do horizontal games, there is not the cabinet wall and arcade wall, although they will be full screen all the way to the edges with some vignette around them. Finally, this is BAT only. Realistic bezels disable clear. Look, clear, no vignette. It's bright. It is the artistic bezels all in there. Okay. And the artwork has no darken your corner vignettes for a clear view, and it highlights the HD art quality. These two available only in bats. But now you have a visual reference. Instead of constantly changing, running the bats, and seeing which one, you can choose, oh, I like this style. I want to do these. I need to look for this bat. Oh, I like this style. It's available in the GUI. All right, I can go and just do real bezel on. I will get this style. It also tells you when horizontal games are affected or not by that change as well, because not all the cabinet ones have the change for hories. All right. Now, those are the docs. Live them, love them. They will true. I did my best to explain. Now, let's go back here to the build. I'm going to take you for a quick drive around. We're going to quick in arcades. We're going to actually, I'm going to run defaults because I want you to see it from the beginning because I had turned on robot there. Now that it's resetting, see how fast that is? Please be patient, ignore errors. Don't worry when you're resetting. It's looking for stuff and expecting not to find stuff, and that's just command line. It shows when there are errors and you don't need to worry about it. I like to do fast real quick because I want to show you the difference. There is no separate directory for the themes like in other builds. They're all in advanced configs because there's only 4. Let's not separate them out. These 4 have to do with turning on the secondary marquee or going back to 16:9, aspect correct, full screen, marquee enable, all of those, okay? Default controls, those are covered. All of these are explained. Here are those 3 reflective glass ones that I was speaking. If in the menu GUI you choose glass on reflective, it will default to blur. You don't need to hit this again, but if you want to change it to first person or sharp, when and only when it's in glass on reflective, you can use these to change it to the first person reflection or the sharp glass reflection, or if you want to go back to the blur. This is the default one in glass effects on reflective. Enough about that. Settings enable, disable. You can turn the gear icon on so it's selectable in the GUI or not. Some people like to tuck that away once they've made all their changes. Go ahead. That's how you do it. Shut down button disable. This is often a question that we get. People in cabinets or people that have it running on a home theater PC. Shut down button disable. It's not, that's default. That's not in there. In a cabinet, if you want to have a graphical button to click, you can turn this on. This would just bump it out of CoinOPS and dump it to Windows, but the PC is still on. This is the same version. If you click on it, it will take you out of not only CoinOPS RetroFee, but it will shut down your PC as well. That's my favorite for cabinet users because then your power management is much easier. Arcade logos are explained. It just changes between artistic, chrome, and gold. Attract mode, collection switch on and off. Attract mode will scroll when there's inactivity to go through the games to attract somebody to come and play. This is a feature not only to prevent screen burn, but was to try in arcades to get people to, hey, carnival barkers, if you will, right? Collection switch adds another layer. Right now, it will stay within the collection that you have by default. You can turn it on so that it will jump collections. I'm pretty sure I got that right. If not, it's the opposite. But this allows it to jump collections. So therefore, if you have arcades, and it'll do a couple from there, and then it will probably jump over to arcade classics, and it may then jump over to once in a while it'll jump into settings, which is kind of funny. So I don't know if settings actually is disabled or not. Knowing BP, he has it disabled, but you can jump to all the other genres and collections when in tracked mode on its own. Also, you can dim. This is an option that has survived and been pretty popular. You can dim, so the screen will dim when it goes into attract mode. Collection enter all games. I do think this needs a brief explanation because I'm about to cover the wall mode differences, and this ties into nicely. Collection enter all games, collection enter favorite games. All right. Not only is there ability to do it on the helper, it shows that if you are in the menu and you click one of the thumbsticks, although the helper says both, that's a slight typo that's going to get fixed. If you click either of the thumbsticks, if you're in all, it will say, I want all to be the startup when I start it up. If you are in favorite playlist and you click one of the thumbsticks in the menu, it will remember. It won't give you a visual indicator. It won't flash. You just clicked it. You set it. If favorites is the one that you clicked with the thumbstick, next time you start the executable, it will start you up in the favorites playlist instead, okay? So you have a bat file to do it, or you have the ability to do it with your controller. Wall, it does not apply on the genre collections upper menu, and I'll explain in just a moment. Here are the different bezels in Legends. They're called bezels, artistic, legends, and realistic. Realistic bezels, there are 4 options because arcades handles it differently. If there's any confusion, check the README. Zero delay encoder, people that have the generics, the EG starts, arcade controls, if you have a zero delay style encoder, it's highly recommended that you enable this BAT. It will prevent the ghosts from running rampant in your control panel. You'll get weird selections. You'll get weird moving, scrolling left and right that you can't stop. That's different than auto scroll. This is the zero delay encoder problem. That will fix that issue. You can clear out all your favorite games by doing this. Of course, they are preset because if a favorites playlist is empty, it won't show. So it is pre-populated. Just remember that. If you wipe it out and you can't find your favorites, it's because you haven't added any yet. As soon as you add one, it will then start letting you switch back and forth to the favorites playlist, but it can't show you zero. It's a non-entity, right? Also, swap MAME screen. If you have multi-mon enabled, your menu is on the right one, everything's going well, you select the game, and then all of a sudden MAME pops up, and the marquee and the MAME monitors for you are reversed, and you don't want that, run this. It doesn't fix them all, but it fixes most. If you need more help with that, go to the Discord server after trying that if it doesn't work. So with that, though, let us go to advanced configs. I want to show you wall because I need to explain how it's different. Let's just do the basic without manufacturers here for the purposes here. Jumping in. Wall. Everybody remembers wall. Left and right. The controls are different. Up and down. Changes the collections and genres. I am holding it down because it has auto enter enabled. What happens when I stop, folks? I don't hit a button. It automatically selects. It fades away. We're back to wall. So it is kind of a hybrid of the multi-level. Yes, you have multi-level available, but you don't stay in here. Therefore, we can't make changes and favorite, say, arcade sports. If I try, notice it just favorited 10-yard fight. He. Yeah, all of you screaming at that one. No, make it stop, Pixel. All right, I will unfavorite. But what I'm trying to point out is up and down in wall is what will change your collections and genres. However, it is not persistent. It doesn't require a button press. So therefore, when we try to toggle favorites on the genres and collections, it cannot take or stay. It will only do games. Hopefully that's clear as mud. All right. So that is how some of the wall issues are different as far as the favorites playlist interaction and also auto enter. It is the only one that has the opposite controls, left, right for game selection, up, down for genre and collections. All the other three, they do the opposite as well. You cannot select these for favorites in wall, but it is so popular that reduced functionality is only on that level. The favorites still work in the games, okay? Let's say I like Operation Wolf and Operation Thunderbolt. Add. Now they're in there, okay? If I were to go to, I was in Gunner, right? Get back there. All right, if I hit my Y, look, I'm in my favorites playlist. Thunderbolt and Wolf are in there. One of the other things that people will love that they miss in the player single tier menu is if I get out, okay? If I get out, and I come back because it's a submenu, it remembers where you were. Whereas in player versions, it can't do that because it is a single tier menu. But the games lists under the collections and genres will remember where you were. Okay, I'm in favorites. Oh no, there's only two, the two that I selected. Let me get out. There I go. See, there's all 32. Now, let's remember that I was on Empire City. I'm going to go look around. I'm going to go into Racer, look around. You know what? I'm going to go back to that. See, it remembered where it was. That's one of the features that are available on a multi-tiered menu as well. All right, folks. Other than that, have a play. These are excellent. Oh, you know what? I'm going to show, just because I absolutely love them. One last thing before we go. I'm going to go over here to Legends, and I want to show you a little bit here because it is an excellent, small, curated build. It is it has the artwork from the legendary bezels. I did the one with all of the genres included. See that? Okay. I want to go back and I want to show you that in the arcade. Okay. 327 CoinOP games. Notice you don't see Aladdin. You don't see Zombies Ate My Neighbors here, right? That's because they're distinct and different. They're separated and will never be part of the all arcades. You notice that this is all arcades and not all games. It's all arcades. There's a reason for that under arcade. Now, if I want to see, they have their own. Sega Genesis, 17 of them. Look at those fantasy cabs. Those don't exist in real life. I know I keep saying that, but it just blows me away that from the mind of G.J.S.M. Smith, he made these super realistic cabinets to show off and allow us to do cabinet wheel mode and also wall mode for some of our loved console games. There are only, if you know, I think there's less than 60 or 70 that he made, but they're just absolutely gorgeous. And I love that these actual themes continue to use them. Super Nintendo, hit the button because it's not wall. I was waiting for it to auto enter there for a second. Whoops. Also, I like some of the fixes that have been added. The XMLs have been changed so that actually all of the games that should happen in chronological order, as far as I can tell, even when they're not alphabetically in order, are now going to show in the proper order as much as possible. It's, kind of frustrating to chase games in a series, but because the title is slightly different or not alphabetically correct, most of those have been fixed here. And if you find any of those, mention on the Discord server, and maybe those can be fixed as well. So, folks, annoying music on purpose. BP doesn't want you hanging out in the settings. Annoying music that can't be stopped. However, the music toggle, that gets confusing. If you turn the music on, that is to play music when you're in the other menu selecting. And also, I put a quick tip in the documents if you want to input your own MP3 to have your own music play in there. No, it doesn't shuffle. It's a single file, but it shows you where to put it and how to enable it. So, folks, Collections Arcades and Collections Legends are coming out. Enjoy. This is just a taste of what's to come. These builds are curated, they're purpose built, but they are absolutely bespoke with all of the custom touches, quality enhancements, all of the improvements that continue to come out of the CoinOPS project, all the optimizations, all of the bug fixes, and the best selection of the games from the retro gaming era. If you have any questions, go ahead and join the CoinOPS project Discord. Do your search, read the FAQ, enjoy what's out there, and looking forward to the full build coming out soon. This is Pixel Freak signing off. We'll see you on the server.